Shalom, family.
Shalom.
Welcome to another new moon, a new month, and all praises be to the Most High Yah that we've made it to another month, and all praises be to the Most High Yah. This looks like this will be the last time we'll broadcast from this particular venue. With this evening's class, I'm kind of delivering this class with a heavy heart. You know, I thought I was going to do new moon about new moon. Because, you know, every now and again, I like to recap for the new followers who don't understand why we observe new moon. This is commanded of the children of Israel by Yahweh. But as I thought that, Yahweh had other thoughts. Because as I'm thinking about, you know, going through this new moon thing, Yahweh just starts rushing all these things to my thought process. And, you know, one of the things that came to me is a story that was told about me, or an accusation that was made of how I treated someone. And this individual had it made up in their mind that I did this. So he and I, elder priest, is sitting there talking, and he's, yeah, you did this, you did this. So I'm sitting there like, no, that never happened. And in his mind, I did this to another individual. So eventually it had to come to a point where I called the other individual, had him on the phone, and I said, it was said that I did this to you. The individual said, that never happened. I said, okay, you hear it for yourself. That never happened. Well, I thought it. Is that how we deal with stuff? Because you thought it, it's okay? And when I said to the individual, some accusations was made against me, an elder. These things are going to have to be corrected. The answer I got is, y'all ain't gonna make me look bad in front of the congregation. But here was the thing. The conversation that we had was out in the open. You're not considering how you made me look to the elder priest with something that came out of your imagination. You're not considering the things that you said about me and the elder priest with other people in earshot. And you're worried about us making you look bad? There's no consideration for how you made us look? But that was the one thought process that I had. But as the week was going on, Yahweh just started dropping all this other stuff in my lap. So I'm thinking past. And for those who don't know, Yahweh will deal with past, present, and future while he's dealing with you. So this all might have happened on Monday. Wednesday I walked in, said the title to my class. The Imaleel, she didn't know the title. I just said it out. Boom, somebody else dropped something about it. I said, what? What? Who did what? Now I'm looking at a video. This just taking place. So now Yahweh is dropping all this stuff. And then through the grapevine, you're hearing these conversations, you're hearing that. So yeah, where I was dealing with something on one level, Yahweh opened up a whole new level of just how people will deal. But then only look at self-value when it comes to correcting those things. It hit hard. Y'all ain't gonna make me look bad. Oh, so it's about how you're going to look. So you're thinking that to stand in front of the same people that you belittled us in front of, lied on us through loud conversation, you think it's making you look bad to stand in front of these people and said, I was wrong, I apologize? Is this how we deal? We got to be better than that. Let's go ahead and start today's class. The title of the class is The Thoughts of a Wicked Imagination. Brother, let's begin in Acts chapter 21, and we're going to read verses 22 through chapter 22 and verse 5.
What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together,
for they will hear that thou art come. Do therefore this, that we say to thee, we have 4 men which have a vow on them. Take, and purify thyself with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning thee are nothing, but that thou thyself also walkest orderly and keepest the law.
So here's instructions being given to correct the view of what people have heard about you. I need you to go ahead and take this and do this. He could have easily said, man, I don't care how nobody view me. Let them think what they want to think. Go ahead.
As touching the Gentiles, which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing, save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strangling, and from fornication. Then Saul took the men, and the next day, purifying himself with them, entered into the temple, and signified the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. And when the 7 days were almost ended, the Yehudi, which were of Asia, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him, crying out, Men of Israel, help! This is the man that teacheth all the men, everywhere against the people and the law and this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple, and have polluted this holy place. For they have seen before with him in the city Trophimus, an Ephesian, whom they supposed that Saul had brought into the temple.
They supposed he brought him in there. They didn't see this man do this. But now you spreading this to all these people. Something that you supposed. You putting a man's life on the line. Because of what you think, feel, and believe with no evidence? That's their imagination. Where did you concoct this from? Just because you saw 2 people together? You supposed? But you telling the people that this is what the man did. Go ahead.
And all the city was moved, and the people ran together, and they took Saul, and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut. And as they went about to kill him, tidings came unto the chief captain and the band of the band that all Jerusalem was in an uproar.
So if the word did not reach the chief captain, this man's life would have been taken. Just because of something that somebody supposed, somebody's imagination concocted to be real. Go ahead.
Who immediately took soldiers and centurions and ran down upon them. And when they saw the chief captain and the soldiers, they left beating of Saul. Then the chief captain came near and took him and commanded him to be bound with 2 chains, and demanded who he was and what he had done. And some cried one thing, and some another. And among the multitude, when he could not know the certainty for the tumult, he commanded him to be carried into the castle. And when he came upon the stairs, so it was that he was born of the soldiers for the violence of the people. For the multitude of the people followed after, crying, Away with him. And as Saul was in the lead, led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art thou not the Egyptian which before these days madest an uproar, and leadest out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Saul said, I am a man which am a Yehudi of Tarshish, a city of Cilicia, and a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. And when he had given him license, Saul stood on the stairs, and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue, saying, Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence. And he saith, I am verily a man which am a Yehudi, born of Tarshish, and a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous towards Elohim, as ye all are this day. And I persecuted this way unto the death, binding and delivering into prisons, both men and women. As also the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished.
So Saul is saying, I don't have a problem admitting to what I've done. I don't have a problem telling you the things I've done. Yeah, I'm persecuted this way. I know my wrongs, but I don't need y'all to try to kill me for something I didn't do. I gladly accept what I have done. We ain't got to imagine it. He said, hey, the high priest will even tell you, I had letters. Give me this charge to go ahead and take care of this business. So if you want a witness, go talk to the high priest. But this uproar that y'all are trying to kill me for, man, that has nothing to do with me. That's somebody else's wicked imagination. Let's jump down to verse 19, please.
And I said, Adonai, they know that I imprisoned and beaten every synagogue them that believed on thee. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him.
He's telling you stuff that I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about. He's going way back. You talking about he was a young fellow at this point in time when this happened. Go ahead.
And he said unto me, Depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. And they gave him audience unto this word, and then lifted up their voices and said, Away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live.
All right, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 21. First Kings chapter 21, and we're going to start with verses 1 through 7.
And it came to pass, after these things, that Naboth, the Jezreelite, had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or, if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money.
So, his vineyard is next to him. But you want to take my vineyard and give me a better vineyard. Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense? Go ahead.
And Naboth said to Ahab, Yahweh forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Nahab, the Jezreelite, had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread.
So now we got a grown man pouting, because a man won't give you his vineyard so you can give him a better vineyard. Right? Go ahead.
But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, And I will not give thee my vineyard.
So now he pouting and he gone and telling her what happened. Jump to verse 15 for me, please. It's so bad, this man ain't eating. I'm gonna go ahead and go on a diet, and I guess he was let's read.
And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money. For Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite to take possession of it. And the word of Yahweh came to Eliah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whether he go down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, In the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Eliah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of Yahweh.
So you look at what it says. It says he sold himself to work evil in the sight of Yahweh. He didn't do it. But the whole plot was his imagination of what he wanted, his thought process. And she carried it out. Because what? He put that in her head. Head of household, right? It was his wicked imagination. It was him pouting about not being able to get somebody else's property. But instead of keeping it to himself, he went to his bosom buddy. She carried out the act. It wasn't her thoughts, it wasn't her imagination. She imagined how to come up with that plan, though. And it was a wicked plan. But his evil desire, his evil imagination towards wanting another man's property, then leads to this woman concocting her own wicked plan. Go ahead.
Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahiah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And Jezebel also spake Yahweh, saying, Dogs shall eat Jezebel.
And of Jezebel.
Oh, and with Jezebel.
And of Jezebel also spake Yahweh.
The dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. And him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dog shall eat. And him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of Yahweh, whom Jezebel, his wife, stirred up. And he did very, very abominably in the following idols, according to all things, as did the Amorites, whom Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted and laid in sackcloth, and went softly. And the word of Yahweh came to Eliah the Tishbite, saying, Seest thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days, which I bring the evil upon his house.
And this is the biggest problem. This goes right back to what I was saying earlier when I said to the individual, you're going to have to take care of this problem. But instead of humbling himself, I get it. Y'all ain't going to make me look bad in front of the congregation. Why can't we humble ourselves when things are brought to us? When we're in the wrong? How hard is that? We're supposed to be walking in a culture. Some of us are still dealing with this as religion. This is a cultural way of life, not religion. If you're still looking for religion, you're in the wrong building. When we say cover your loins, we mean cover your loins. That's culture. And that shouldn't just be in this building. We should be able to see you outside and say, there go a Hebrew indeed. Yeah, we know it takes time. We're getting into it. We all don't have the clothing. But we got to start making strides. The first step, man, when something is brought to you, humble yourself. I put forth the question, how many of y'all in the building that I've done wrong when it's brought to my attention that I have not come and tried to correct the issue? Please, if you're in the building and it hasn't happened, come and see me. But see, that's why it hurts in certain situations, because I know I'm trying to walk the culture. But then I got to watch other people who seem to be playing with the culture. Are you here for salvation, or are you just here for knowledge? We're here supposed to be helping each other. Man, if correction is a problem, you're in the wrong place. If humbleness isn't a problem for you, you're in the wrong place. And if humbleness is a problem for you, guess what that means? Pride is still riding you. And you know what they say about pride? It comes before a fall. Let's go to Acts chapter 8. Acts chapter 8, we're going to start at verse 9.
But there was a certain man called Simeon, which before time in the same city used sorcery and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that himself was a great one, to whom they all gave heed, from the least to the greatest, saying, This man is the great power of Elohim. And to him they had regard, because that of long time he had bewitched them with sorceries. But when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim, and the name of Yahshua the Mashiach, they were baptized, both men and women. Then Simeon himself believed also, and when he was baptized, he continued with Philip, and wondered, beholding the miracles and signs which were done. Now when the apostles which were in Jerusalem heard that Samaria had received the word of Elohim, they sent unto them Cephas and Johanan, who, when they were come down, prayed for them, that they might receive the Holy Spirit. For as yet he was fallen upon none of them, only they were baptized in the name of the Adonai Yahshua. Then laid they their hands on them, and they received the Holy Spirit. And when Simeon saw that through laying on the apostles' hands the Holy Spirit was given, he offered them money, saying, Give me also this power, that on whosoever I lay hands, he may receive the Holy Spirit.
Now, when you jump back up, right, verse 12, but when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim and the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, they were baptized, both men and women. Then Simeon himself believed also. So Simeon was fine until he saw the laying on of the hands. And that stirred up something inside of him. A bit of covetousness. and then the wicked imagination. Because remember, this is something he already had this clout with people already. So imagine the clout that he's losing now to go with these unpopular people. Because the disciples during this time was unpopular. But now he sees something that, hey, if I get this can put me back in the eyes of the people and put me right back there before, where I was before. Go ahead.
But Cephas said unto him, Thy money perish with thee, because thou hast thought that the gift of Elohim may be purchased with money.
So it was his thought process. Go ahead.
Thou hast neither part nor lot in this matter, for thy heart is not right in the sight of Elohim. Repent therefore of this thy wickedness, and pray Elohim, if perhaps the thought of thine heart may be forgiven thee. For I perceive that thou art in the gall of bitterness, and in the bond of iniquity. Then answered Simeon and said, Pray ye to the Adonai for me, that none of these things which ye have spoken come upon me.
So if you want to look at it right then, there's humbleness. This man has found humbleness to say, you know what? You're right. I'm not in the right place. Y'all pray for me, please. But can we do that? Can we accept that? And he kept saying, your heart is not right. The thoughts of your heart. Hey man, when you get something in your heart, it's hard to let it go, especially when somebody say, no, that's not true. No, but I believe this wholeheartedly. Yeah, wholeheartedly. But it's not true. So how long have you had it in your heart? It's embedded so deep that you can't dig it out. Man, that's when you got to ask somebody else to pray for you. Because there's something deep down in there. My brother, read the definition for thought for me, please.
Thought, H2031, harhor, Chaldee, from the root corresponding to H2029, a mental conception, thought. And they got the Brown's Drivers Briggs Hebrew definition.
Brown's Drivers Briggs definition as well.
All right, BDB9479, mental conception, fantasy, image, mental picture, fancy, imaging, origin from a root corresponding to H2029.
So your thoughts come from your mentals. And then it goes imagination. Like I said earlier, this person imagined that I did this. So is it fair to say that that's a wicked imagination? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7. Another interesting thing in there is fantasy. Jeremiah chapter 7, and we're going to read verses 21 through 29.
Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, put your burnt offerings onto your sacrifices, and eat flesh. For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this thing commanded I them, saying, Obey my voice, and I will be your Elohim, and ye shall be my people. And walk ye in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ears, but walked in the counsel and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backward and went forward.
And here we go again. They always say this is constructed in your heart. And then comes to your imagination. Some things you hear, you got to wonder, what have I done to you? That you could imagine such a thing about me. And then there's other sides and situations where I talk to brothers and they'll be like, man, Kish, I would have never seen you like that. It's like, I'm not holier than thou. I've had a past. Don't put me on no pedestal. Because now you got one person got this imagination that, no, don't put me up there. At least Yahweh had to knock me down because you put me up there. No, I've got a past. It's tainted and dirty, and that's why I keep working. And I keep keeping on. You know, some of the stuff that you hear is heartbreaking sometimes. Because when Yahweh puts something on you, he don't just put this one thing. He'll start letting the floodgates open. And you got all this stuff, and you're sitting there like, wow, for real. You know, I've had it said to me that, oh, there's people that don't think you should have the position you have. Oh, really? And let me see. I've never seen those people take out of their own time and get here before time and open the doors and make sure the place is warm in the winter for when my brothers and sisters get here, they're not freezing, or cool in the summer so you're not burning up when you get here. I've never seen them voluntarily go out of their way to make themselves available for the brothers and sisters. But yet, you don't think I should have the position that I have. I did not give the position to myself. I saw Yahweh's house and just made myself available to be here. So when my brothers and sisters arrive, they can come through the door. But yet, you don't think that I should have the position that I have. Brother, I didn't appoint myself to read. As a matter of fact, I was asked several times, and several times it was no, I'm good. And eventually, like, okay, I guess I'll do this. But my elder has a song, a line in this song. He said they want what you have, but won't do what you do. Mm. I'm just a servant. But the problem with me being a servant is I haven't forgotten the old man. I haven't forgotten my past deeds. And see, some people only want to be righteous with the saints. And some of my past deeds are brought before me. Even the heathens, if I can contact them, I go ahead and try to make that right. I don't have to. You don't have to. I deal with what Yahweh places on me. How can we walk the walk and still got one foot in the world? Not even that. We still got the imagination of the world beating down on us. I've had to learn to look at things in a whole different light. And pray for help. I can't whip out scriptures off the top of my head, but you know why are you whipping off the scriptures off the top of your head? Are you walking the walk though? With the scriptures that you know, is it reflected in your walk? I'm trying to live this. I'm sorry if some people are just here thinking it's knowledge to go play battle script. Like I said, it's a culture. When you walk outside the street, you can tell a Muslim, can't you? But nowadays it's kind of hard with some of these folks. But you can tell we've been slipping a long time ago. Saul had to say, I knew not that he was the high priest. That means we started abandoning the culture a long time ago. But now that we found it, are we really going to half walk? That still reflects back to your thought process. That still reflects back to your imagination. You worried about how people see you. Man, people gonna think I'm trying to be king of Wakanda walking down here with this and during the week. Man, let them think what they want to think. But when the cops grab them up and bypass you, they, why he ain't touch Buddy? Good Buddy, king of Wakanda. Goes a long way when you're walking in culture. But what it says, gotta start up here. This verse has to touch here. What does it mean to you? Showing up here on Sabbath, showing up here on new moons, showing up here for holy days. You come with your best Hebrew outfit when you show up, and you go back to being Jake when you outside. Hey man, you ain't fooling nobody but yourself. That's your own thought process, your own imagination getting the best of you. Go ahead, Elder.
It reminds me of one of the things that Nipsey ended up saying. It's that when he's talking about gangbanging, he said, it's really sad, being that, I was a part of this, but I meditated on it. You see the person who you call lame, you let them, they walked on down the street. You see the person in that you think a Muslim or they in culture, you let them walk down the street. When you see the guy with the baggy pants on, that's who you banging on. Mm-hmm. He said, bottom line is, you looking for yourself. Mm. That's the dude you hurting. So even in that, even though he wasn't, he was dealing with gangbanging and how you are essentially angry with yourself, and that's the one you're trying to kill. The mindset of a gangbanger said, you don't touch the guy with the cultural clothing on. You let him go. Mm-hmm. He not one of us. But when you see the one with the pants sagging, jump on him. We don't even consider, and this comes from a gangbanger. This comes from an ex-gangbanger. Right. And he's not trying to speak to any cultural people. He's talking about something altogether different. This is a sidebar. You let the culture guy go. Mm-hmm. That was interesting.
Interesting indeed. Go ahead, my brother.
Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day I have even sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. Therefore thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, but they will not answer thee. But thou shalt say unto them, This is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of Yahweh their Elohim, nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished, and is cut off from their mouth. Cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem, and cast it away, and take up a lamentation of high places, on high places. For Yahweh hath rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath.
Now it says, Yahweh said, But you shall say unto them, This is a nation that obeys not the voice of Yahweh their Elohim, nor receives correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth. It was several times I said this week as well. We say we believe in Yahweh. We trust in Yahweh. Right? We found the truth. But I find it very funny how we got people that'll sit around and talk about how they have a problem with disciplining their child. I'm not going to beat my child. Okay. So if you trust in Yahweh and you believe in Yahweh, you just contradicted what Yahweh said. So what kind of believer are you? Only when it suits you, what's fitting onto you? Yahweh was the one that said, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Yahweh was the one that says, if you beat him, he shall not die. But yet you trust in Yahweh and you believe in Yahweh? If you're going to take that one situation, you might as well dismiss all his commandments. Now, let's not take it out of context. You got some children that all you got to do is talk to them. You never have to raise a hand. But you need to know the difference.
Yes, you do.
There's some kids, you going to beat them to a pulp and they going to get right back up and do what they doing. You have to learn the difference of your child, and then comes down to your children, because they're not all the same. But how can you say you believe in Yahweh and you going to say, well, I don't believe in beating children? Man didn't make that up. Yahweh was the one that said it. So even with that simple little slight, you picking and choosing how you believe and what you believe when it comes to Yahweh. Something that simple we don't think about, do we? It's a transgression. You need to search your heart, search your imagination. What's got you in that space and in that place? My brother, can you read the definition for wicked for me, please?
I got it right here.
Okay.
Avowal, is that how you say that?
Aval.
Avowal, intensive from H5765, evil, morally, unjust, unrighteous, wicked.
Okay. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11. Second Samuel chapter 11, and we're going to start at verse 1.
And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon, and besieged Rahab. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass, in an eventide, that David arose from off his bed, and walked onto the roof of his king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers, and took her, and she came unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house.
So we went through this story already. We've gone through this story several times over the last couple of weeks. And like Elder said, at the point that he was told that this is a man's wife, that should have been the end of that situation. What was in his imagination? What was in his heart? What was in his thought process? That you would continue to go down this avenue. Go ahead.
And the woman conceived, and sent and told David, and said, I am with child. And David sent to Joab, saying, Send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. And David said to Uriah, Go down to thy house, and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king.
So David's saying this man, go down to your house and wash your feet. It's a thought process going on. This man has concocted a thought process in his own imagination of how to hide this mishap. Go ahead.
But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his master, and went not down to his house. And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down unto his house, David said unto Uriah, Comest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house? And Uriah said unto David, The ark and Israel and Judea abide in tents, and my master Joab, and the servants of my master are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and to drink, and to lie with my wife? As thou livest, and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing.
So his thought process was somewhere else. His thought process was about taking care of the business, while somebody else's thought process is to get him caught up and cover up their dirty deeds. Go ahead.
And David said to Uriah, Tarry he today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he made him drunk. And at even he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his master, but went not down to his house. And it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah.
So even under the influence, this man still ain't falling for it. So you got to understand that some people can drink and handle their drink and still be about the business. And some people drink and forget where the hell they live. You need to figure out what kind of drinker you are. This man stayed the course. He meant he wasn't going home. Go ahead.
And he wrote in the letter, saying, Set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. And it came to pass, when Joab observed the city, that he assigned Uriah unto a place where he knew that valiant men were.
So this is all being concocted in the heart and the thought process and the imagination of David. He keep trying all these different things. He didn't just say put him in the battle. No, put him in the hottest part of the battle. I need him gone. Man, how much time you spent thinking on this? How much time you spent dwelling on this? We could look here, it's at least 2 days spent trying to do different things that's not working out. What else are you not getting done while you busy concocting this plan? Go ahead.
And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some of the people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messengers, saying, When thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if so be that the king's wrath arise, and he say unto thee, Wherefore approached ye so nigh unto the city, when ye did fight? Knew ye not that they would shoot from the wall? Who smote Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal? Did not a woman cast a piece of the millstone upon him from the wall, that he died in Thebes? Why went ye nigh the wall? Then say thou, Thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also.
So somehow Joab knew that this was his get out of trouble card. No matter what goes wrong, you go ahead and tell him Uriah is dead. So Joab somehow knew that this was going to be pleasing to the king. Go ahead.
So the messengers went and came and showed David all that Joab had sent him for. And the messengers said unto David, Surely the men prevailed against us, and came out unto us into the field, and we were upon them, even unto the entering of the gate. And the shooters shot from off the wall upon thy servants, and some of the king's servants be dead, and thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. Then David said unto the messengers, Thus shalt thou say unto Joab, Let not this thing displease thee, for the sword devoureth one as well as another. Make thy battle more strong against the city, and overthrow it, and encourage thou him. And when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband.
So she was even sorrowful in the situation. But in all of this, did this man consider how this woman was going to feel? No consideration for how she was going to feel. It's all about his plot, his thought process, and what he was trying to achieve. What about the other people in earshot? What about the other people that this is going to affect? Can we really be that selfish? As we can see, Yahweh deals with us as a nation, not as individuals. So when something happens, yeah, you might not see us all crying and tearing up apart, but it affects the whole house. We just all got different ways that we deal with it. Some people might say, oh, they don't care. They ain't showing no emotions. They went on just business as usual. Man, you don't tell me how to deal with my emotions. You don't tell me how to deal with how I feel about a situation. But see, you want me to deal with it how you would have me deal with it. That's not fair either. That's the problem. We need to start thinking 360 degrees. All of the effects all around us. When we start wanting to deal selfishly. See, what you learn from Yahshua is how to deal selflessly. The man was selfless. That's why he gave himself up. We are selfish creatures. Can you go ahead and read the
No, I got it on my phone.
imagination?
Imagination, H4284.
Mecca
Shebeth. All right. From H2803, a contrivance that is concretely a texture, machine, or abstractly intention, plan, whether bad, a plot, or good, advice, cunning, curious work, device, imagination, invented, means, purpose, thought.
So within your imagination, things can be invented. But it also says whether bad or good. That's where we got to examine ourselves on the thought process we have before we start executing and deploying. Now let me sit down and meditate on this. Let me look at 360 degrees and see who all is going to be affected by this, or infected in some cases by what I've got going on. All right, this is the last one we're going to do for the night. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 6. We're going to read verses 1 through 24. Proverbs chapter 6. We're going to read verses 1 through 24.
My son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth. Thou art taken with the words of thy mouth.
So Make sure your friends. Make sure the people you hanging out with. They say birds of a feather flock together. Then you turn around and say, if you have stricken your hand with a stranger, that's making a deal. That's making a bond. But then you turn around and say, you are snared with the words that come out of your mouth, not out of their mouths. You're snared with the words that come out of your mouth. Something we have yet to learn. Even in the situation with what they say when a police officer pull you over, you have the right to remain silent. Even in this word, you have the right to remain silent. Let your tongue cleave to the roof of your mouth until you get understanding about certain things. Go ahead.
Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself. When thou art come into the hand of thy friend, go, humble thyself, and make sure thy friend. Give not sleep to thine eyes.
So when you go before your friend, humble yourself. While you humbling yourself, you might figure out whether that's your friend or not. Make sure that that's your friend. But once again, like I said, we got a problem with being humble. Go ahead.
Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, and consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest.
You know what's funny? You sit down and you watch ants, right? Whether they talk or not, if they do, boy, them conversations is brief. Because they constantly moving. What up, buddy? Man, I say, look to the ant. What do they say? Idle hands is the devil's workshop. And that's where most people get into problems. Sitting around doing nothing and yickety yakking. Go ahead.
How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When thou arise out of thy sleep, yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a forward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Forwardness is in his heart. He deceiveth mischief continually. Deviseth, mischief continually. He soweth discord.
So, do we understand what a forward mouth is? That's somebody who believe they know everything. Up front and forward. You know, I'm always got to be up in your face. Frowardness is in his heart. He devises mischief continually. He sows discord. Go ahead.
Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth Yahweh hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren.
And once again, we see where this all starts, an heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. What's in your heart? What do you got festering around in there? Go ahead.
My son, keep thy father's commandment, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bid them continually upon thy heart, and tie them about thy neck. When thou goeth, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepeth, it shall keep thee. And when thou awaketh, it shall talk with thee. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproof of instruction are the way of life. To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. For by means of whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread.
That's it, my brother.
Oh,
Appreciate
shit.
it.
Oh my God, sorry.
For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is a light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. Can we deal with being corrected? Can we deal with humbling ourselves? Can we deal with even the situation of Dawid, when Dawid passed judgment? And Nathan said, you are the man. Dawid said, I've sinned. Most of us, when stuff is brought to us, instead of just saying, you know what? My bad. I was wrong. We either put up this big defensive wall or we cut and run. How are you going to grow? How are you going to stay on this path of salvation if every time your faults are brought to you, you cut and run, or you can't humble yourself to accept and say, you know what? I did that, man. Well, we got a problem with that. At the end of the day, every one of us has to stand before that great throne of judgment. And it's going to be, you're even going to be judged for your very thoughts. I'm telling you, when I read that hit me harder than anything else. And it's been years. That hit me harder than anything else, to understand that I'm going to be judged for my thought process. Because some stuff rattle around up in here that I wouldn't want to spill out on the table. And we all have to realize that we all got that. We will be judged for our very thoughts. That means we have to start conditioning ourselves to think differently. And once you start thinking differently, you'll deal differently, you'll move differently, you'll act differently. A lot of us are still bringing the old man. And I'm going to tell you, the biggest thought process for me, and I'll put it out there, was how I see women. I had to say, you know what? That's my sister. Coming from a man who is all about the women, you have to change your thought process. I had to deal with that thought process. And then in this culture and in this walk, even with the position I have, hey man, I don't talk to brothers' wives. That's culture. No, go get your husband. At least somebody think the old man done poked his head back out. That is not religion, that's culture. Thought process got to change. Got a problem with a brother? Pull the brother aside. The brother don't need to hear from 10 different people that there's an issue. A sister don't need to hear from another person. But so we want to be grown. But in being grown, there's some responsibilities. There's some dealings of how we got to deal. Like I said, where I was at before, when I wasn't going back, he knew I wasn't coming back. Because I let him know, I won't be back. Some people just say something and you hear through the grapevine. Oh, so they said this. Oh. But then some things you got to say, okay, you said that this person ain't coming back. Why are you quick to want to put that out there? What happens when they do want to come back? You said that we put you out. Nah, what you were given was a sabbatical. So how does you being given a sabbatical now comes down to we being put you out? This person is on a sabbatical. They're not in a position to give you a baptism. Don't go get a baptism from that person. Well, I got a baptism from that person. Okay, then you need to go wherever that person go. Well, I can't come back here. Bro, you just went along with the disobedient person. You've just shown us your character. You've just shown us who you are and how you think. If you know that person was given a sabbatical, several people warned you against going to that person who is not in a position to give you a baptism, but yet you went, you kind of just peed on our wall. But yet what, we're supposed to just welcome you back? No, you go with that person who said that we put them out, which we already told you, no, they're on a sabbatical. What they're telling you is not correct. We got to be careful. My thoughts versus your thoughts versus his thoughts don't mean a hell of a beans. But we can all come to a common understanding with what's written in this book if we're all trying to walk in culture. I hate when people say, oh, what's your religion? Bro, I don't have a religion. What I have is a culture. I get that into my thought process, into my heart, that this is my culture. So I deal differently. I walk differently. And I expect my brothers and sisters to aid me on the walk and help me out. Israel, we got to do better. That's all we're going to do for this evening. Enjoy your new moon.
Right.